My presentation will be about how to prepare for a D365 FinOps and supply chain upgrade. And this will be based on our own experience as a customer. I will introduce the customer, but first let me introduce myself. So my name is Peter Prokopecz. I'm an AX technical lead at JJ Food Service, a food wholesaler. And I'm also the owner of DAX-Vision ERP Consulting, where I manage a small technical team who helps in different AX projects with different versions, even upgrades to D365. I studied IT engineering, and recently, last year, I finished MBA also. I worked with AX from 2003 as trade and logistics consultant and developer and technical architect. Recently, I'm more involved in technical and less involved in functional things. But at our company, everyone needs to understand functional things also, because that's needed. I live in different places. I lived in Budapest, and now I'm based in Hungary also. I lived in Dubai, Cambridge, and Ghent. And I had projects around the world. I'm a sportsman. I played football for 10 years. I did Thai boxing, running, but I'm an unprofessional sportsman. So I will talk about why at all JJ Food Service decided to upgrade. And I will have a look at the upgrade from my own point of view, or our own point of view, which is functional, technical, and data cleanup. And I will do some demos so that you will not only see slides, but something live also. I will show LCS and AX developer environment to show the models. So, introduction of JJ Food Service. JJ Food Service is a UK food and drink wholesaler, and we are here for 30 years. And the orders can be posted from website or mobile app, or you can go to the counter. And even if you post your order, you can decide if you collect it from the counter or you want it to be delivered to your home. The main business was B2B, but we deliver to individuals also. And now, from the pandemic, we put more effort in giving a very good service to individuals. And this means that I think maybe the only company in UK is JJ Food who can do same-day delivery in some areas. And we can do same-day collection. And where we don't do same-day delivery, we still can do the next-day delivery. So this is quite unique. And we use AX for a long time, more than 10 years, started with 3.0, and we upgraded to each versions. And this is the reason why our upgrade is very interesting, because in AX 3.0, there were very different functions compared to D365. And I will talk about the impacts of this. We have 11 UK branches, more than 60,000 customers, and more than 100 delivery vehicles. The orders can be placed through the website or a mobile app. So if we have a look at our website, this is an e-commerce site that's maintained and developed by our team. So it is integrated to AX, but not written in AX or parts of it. So there are integrations, and many of the business logic runs in AX, and there is everything going to AX. And we use APIs for the communication. So we have products, and we have basket, we have predictive analysis to help the customer choose what they want to buy. And the background is AX 2012. So why do we upgrade? One main reason is standardization. As I said, we started with AX 3.0. In that version, there were a lot of functions that we had to develop for ourselves because the product didn't know as much as we wanted. So we developed a lot of own functions, but later Microsoft also did develop them. And now it's a very good opportunity to get rid of our custom code, which we always have to maintain and upgrade, and start to use the standard ones where Microsoft puts their effort to improve the performance and the functionality all the time. So standardization is a very important part of the reasons. Other reason is to utilize the cloud technology. We started to use Power Apps, Power Automate, Logic Apps, Power BI, Azure DevOps, and all these tools are very useful for us. There are cost and complexity behind maintaining a redundant and fail-safe system, which is based on the licensing, and we have to replace the hardware every 5 years. We have a lot of tasks for the IT staff to maintain and monitor these environments, and it's an advantage for us that these will be in the cloud and managed by Microsoft. This is a good opportunity for code and data cleanup. So not only going for standard functions, but also we can throw out all the code that is not needed, and we can improve the quality of our code, and also we can drop a lot of data that's developed for this I don't give the control. So we can drop code and data, and our database can be much smaller, and our code base can be much smaller. To you, I can share that we have a 2 terabyte size database, which is huge for an upgrade and for even daily processes. But our performance is fine. But still, it is good to go for D365 for us. Another reason is that the product support will be ended, so we will be even forced to upgrade. And there are a lot of functions that are available in D365 that we didn't develop for ourselves, or did. So some functionalities I picked from the What's New site, but this is not all, but things that came in our interest. So the web browser-based client is something that's very useful and reason to upgrade, because you don't need to install clients everywhere. Task Recorder is a very good tool that now every user can create task recordings, and they can be added to AX help system. MRP is many times the biggest bottleneck for AX, earlier versions of AX, and being an external service in AX D365 is a very big advantage. Vendor portal is something that we developed for ourselves, but we can go to standard version. Business events, we can trigger Power Apps on mobiles, and we can trigger external applications, flows, or Power Automate, which are advantages for us and for many people. Cloud points of sale. We use sales channels, and our price and discount is based on sales channel. So this is a customization that we made, but now part of the standard product. The e-commerce site also considers the sales channels. We have our own way to replicate our production environment using PowerShell and SQL jobs, and sometimes it fails, sometimes not, but now it can be just a service from Microsoft to replicate your environment. Easier updates. So this is something very important, that we never again need to upgrade after this upgrade because of one version or evergreen or the extensibility framework. When you hear these, they are all about making AX work similar to Windows, that you get updates installed on your AX environment automatically and periodically, and you can see in advance what will be there, and the breaking changes are there are no breaking changes in the future, so no need for huge upgrade projects. The production and sandbox environment managed by Microsoft. Power users can add new fields, modify reports without development or code release. There are a lot of improvements of batch processing. The inactivity periods. In the middle of the day, we don't want to start batch jobs, but in the middle of the night instead. Aborting running batch job or batch task. Copy a batch task. Set up relative priority and dependency. Actually, dependency is not yet there, but a planned feature. 1 million records to AX to Excel from AX. Batch job to index defragmentation. At the moment, we use Ola Hallengren's scripts, but in future we can schedule batch jobs, standard ones. Azure Data Lake has so much opportunity for integration, for reporting, and it's without putting pressure on our production database, because these can connect to the Azure Data Lake instead, and much more. These are just ones that I found interesting to show. Personalized product recommendations, test automation, mixed. Okay, advanced warehousing is already there in AX 2012 R2, but we haven't started using it, so now we will. Let's have an overview of the upgrade process. My presentation is not about giving you each steps and details about how to do them. My presentation is about some tricks and experience that we would like to share. But still, I would like to go through the process. So we consider 3 stages: analyze, execute, and validate. In the analyze stage, you can use tools from LCS to estimate the work. You can run code upgrade estimator, and you can deploy a demo environment and identify functional gaps or find functionality that you find useful and you didn't know about it yet. In the execute phase, code upgrade and I consider data upgrade here, but yes. And tests in the validation phase. Another view of the process. So in analyze, you estimate, fit gap analysis, and create the project plan. Then in the execute phase, you do the code and data upgrade. And then in the validation phase, you have functional tests and cutover testing. So my point of view for this presentation contains these 3: functional upgrade, technical upgrade, and data upgrade. And many of these will be things that you can already do in your AX 2012 environment, even before officially starting the D365 upgrade project. So functional upgrade will be about standardization and simplification of the processes and implementing new functionality. The technical upgrade is mainly about getting rid of unused code and objects and identifying empty tables, and data upgrade and cleanup is archiving, purging, finding unused tables, and data replication in Azure. So more details about the functional upgrade. Standardization is replicating custom functionality, custom solutions with standard AX features. Like we developed call center for ourselves, we bought an ISV solution for credit card handling, but these are already working fine in AX. We are considering to implement retail as e-commerce backend. I showed you our website. It's working well, and this will be a second phase of our upgrade. So at the moment we keep our custom e-commerce portal and later upgrade maybe to retail e-commerce. Catch weight items is something that's very frequent in our business, and we developed many functionality for this, but now standard AX can handle most of it, and even different things that we didn't think about. Other part of functional upgrade will be cleanup, so disable and remove unused functionality. Some of them were used before, but we don't use it anymore, and we don't need it anymore, so the database shouldn't hold these data. And in redesign, I mean mainly when 2 types of things. One is when a function is deprecated. For example, we use warehouse zones, which is in WMS2 in earlier versions. But WMS2, so Warehouse Management 2, is deprecated, and we need to use advanced warehousing, so we need to redesign our functions which are based on these zones. AIF document services, another example for deprecated features. They are replaced by data management and data entities. So we used mainly AIF custom services. They are still available, but some of them can be converted to data entities. And for document services, we also have examples where we need to re-implement using data entities. Splitting up complex form, we have a very nice order pad, which is a very complex form, and it's not, you can see there are a lot of tab pages and a lot of functionality sticked into one form. This is not very good for the web browser-based design, so we decided that we need to redesign this. So other standardization candidates are vendor collaboration, which was the vendor portal before. We have our own custom solution for this, and we would like to use the standard function. We have I showed you our website. There we have sales basket, and we have product recommendations, and we are considering using the standard way of product recommendations developed by Microsoft. We have put a lot of efforts in customizing batch processes. For example, active periods is something that we developed for ourselves, that we want to run batch processes in nighttime or less heavy times. And we use the OLA hologram scripts for SQL index maintenance, and the order pad I already mentioned, but we have task history there also, which is a different way of standardization because we will move it to our e-commerce portal for now. On the right side is the vendor collaboration area page. So as I said, warehousing zones and areas we use from WMS2, which is deprecated, and we implement advanced warehousing. You need to know that we are still in the upgrade process. We are not yet live with D365. So this is now the ongoing task. So let's see the details of technical upgrade. First, I would like to show a demo for LCS. So this is an upgrade project in LCS, and you can see that we have a code upgrade tool. Here you need to import an AX2012 model store, and as a result you will get tasks that you can find here, and another result is that they are going to Azure DevOps. So your tasks, your work items, you will get work items as a result, and you can already give the tasks to the team, and you have a nice Azure DevOps board where you can see the stages of different tasks. You can see backlogs. So all of these are the result of the code upgrade tool. And the objects are upgraded to D365. They are cut to models, which I will also show soon. And these are now XML files, and you can find them already in your repository. So these are our models. I will talk about it later. And if you go in to different places, you will find already XML files. So this is the result of this upgrade tool. Originally, so let me show instead. Let me talk about models first. Maybe it's easier to tell it this way. So Microsoft has cut their sys layer from AX2012 to different models in D365. There are many models, but the three main ones are Application Suite, Application Foundation, and Application Platform. In Application Suite, most of the code is placed. Application Foundation contains number sequences, global address book, source document, related code. Application Platform is something that the core functionality of AX, like workflow, SSRS, runtime, data access, and so on. And based on this, we went for those models that you have seen. So we decided to create 4 models. We have a core model where we have the run-based modifications and application class and info modifications. In the operations model, we have most of our business logic. In integration and reporting, we have integration related and reporting related code. So we also cut our code, and this is why you could see these models here. So if I go to AX now, there is the standard AOT view in the developer environment, and we also have a model view. And you can see that there are a lot of models here. And here you can find ours. You can find the application suite that I mentioned on the slide, application platform, foundation. And if you open one model, you will see the same AOT structure or similar AOT structure to AX2012. So this is just 2 different views of the AOT. So as we are here, I'll just say a few words about naming conventions also. Let's say we are in JET operations model. So if I create a new table, I would call it JET underscore and then a custom name. If I extend a standard table, for example, purge table, then I would call it purge table dot JET operation extension. If I do it with a class, then the class could be table-based, so it's the code of the table, or it could be a normal class. So I identify it here. So I would say purge table type, JET operation underscore extension, because this is mandatory to have underscore before the extension for the classes. If I create a data entity, I call it JET underscore receipt node entity, actually without the underscore. So this is a mistake here. This is just some ideas when you plan your environment. So the two main things is that we divide it for 4 models: core, operations, integrations, and reporting. And the naming conventions look this way. Let's go back to here. So I was showing the code upgrade tool. It gives you the task list at the end and the repository in Azure DevOps. And in the Azure boards, you can see the work items. Another thing in LCS that you will need to use is extensibility support requests. I'm saying this because there is a new way of development in D365, and it was already there in AX 2012, but now it is enforced. So instead of overlayering, which means that you could modify any Microsoft code and write your own code to replace the original, it's not anymore there. The reason is the evergreen or one version that I mentioned already. So to be able to update the environment instead of upgrading it. So for that reason, you need to get extensibility knowledge, and you must use extensions instead of overlayering. And there are cases when you really have to modify some middle of some Microsoft code, and in that case, if you can find a delegate to subscribe for, then you can do it. If not, then you need to ask for Microsoft support to create a delegate for you. I will not go into details of extensibility. That's another presentation topic. Okay, so now the tools and ideas that I'd like to share about the code cleanup and code upgrade. These are preparation steps in AX 2012, which we found very useful and worth to share. So for code cleanup, we used some tricks to identify unused objects. We created some X++ and TSQL code to support this, and I will show some of them. But as part of the code cleanup, we got rid of warnings and best practice violations already in AX 2012. We had a lot because of starting in AX 3.0. In that times, best practice was not something that developers considered at all, I would say. So there is an LCS code analysis tool, which we used to find typically incorrect implementations. We consolidated our prefixes because, as I said, we developed our own functionalities plus both ISV solutions, and we had different suffixes or prefixes, and we would like to move all to the same naming conventions that I have just shown. You can create pre and post event handlers. We just when we started to learn about D365, we changed our way of coding in AX 2012 also and started to use pre and post event handlers. We didn't put too much effort in modifying the already existing code to use event handlers, but the new ones we did. And that would be useful. With the code upgrade tool, you can get much less errors at the end. And modifying the forms to use form templates is something that could be useful also, because in AX 2012, we rarely use the form templates, but in D365, it's mandatory. Or you can have custom form template, but that's another thing. But it's good to use some form templates already in AX 2012. So the tools I will share, I will put them on my blog also soon. They are not there, or one of them are there, I think, but in the next 2 weeks I will put the rest also, and in GitHub. So I will show the empty table cleanup, the unused objects finder that is X++ based, and another one is SQL based, and we examined the tables, the index usage through SQL Server, index statistics, and I will show these tools also. So one and easiest thing that we did to find, so as I said, 10 years of different ISV solutions and different functionality that are developed. Then we used them, then stopped using them. So there was quite a big mess in the code base. So for finding what is still used and what is not, this is one thing that we did. So if you go to tools in the developer client in AX 2012, there is a number of records form. But if you modify the query of this form and add criteria that you would like to see only custom layers, then you get a list of tables that has no data. These are just ideas. You always have to think through the results, because a table can be empty for different reasons. One reason is that it's a temporary table, and so there can be good reasons for why the table is empty and still needed, but this gives you a list, and maybe you can throw the ones which are empty, or some of them. Another tool is SQL based. So if you run this script, you will get the list of tables, because element type is 44, on custom layers, because layer ID is up more than 7. And you can see the index usage statistics of these tables, and you can order them. But here the script is saying not in. So if there is nothing at all in the index statistics for a table that is a custom table, so no read, no write, no seek, nothing, then this will give you that list. Caution, this is after the last secure restart. So the index statistics are after the last secure restart. So maybe you used them before that. There are typical functions, for example, year-end closing that you only do once a year, but you really need the objects that are involved. So this is again a list to consider and not to drop without thinking them through. Another tool for the same, based on the same thing, is a bit more complicated or more useful. Here I'm getting the latest lookup, scan, and seek from the index statistics, and in a separate column I put it as most recent date, and I can order the tables based on it. So this will show me that these tables are in use or not. And it's also interesting if some table is only written but never read, or only read but never written. So these can again give you good ideas to what code is used and what is not, and what data is there for just using the space. For unused objects, there is another way that we used, and it's about it's based on cross-reference, and it is filling up a table. I'm running a job that's filling up a table, and based on that, the form will show what objects are not used based on the cross-reference. So that means no other objects are referencing them. So this is how the result looks. I've talked about the package structure already, and I can see that time is running fast. I've shown you the packages. So let's talk a little bit about data upgrade. I would like to highlight two things here. I'm not showing the process actually, but just highlight a few things. One is that collation, I will show it in the next slide, but there is only one supported collation. The other thing is important in every upgrade, even before, and in D365, when you move your data to the cloud, it's even more important, purging and archiving. That saves you a lot of time and space. So a smaller database means lower cost for Azure, and it also means faster execution of processes, because one record in a table that has million, to find one record in a huge table is slower than to find record in a smaller table, which is obvious. For data upgrade, I also wanted to tell that the tools that I have just shown are also related to the data upgrade, because if you drop these tables, then you don't need to upgrade the data from them. The process can be checked here on this doc site. this is the collation that I mentioned. So the only supported collation is SQL, Latin 1, General, CP1, so on, so on. It's on the screen. And you can find Microsoft doc site reference on it. So this is the only supported collation. And this means for most of us that we need to convert our database because very few of us uses already this collation. So that can be done in different ways, but the supported way at the moment is exporting your data to an Azure backup format, a backpack file, and then with new collation importing it to Azure. There is other way. It's not yet on the site, but I think it will be that you can replicate your data already in the cloud, even when you are still using your AX 2012 environment, and before go live you start to replicate the transactions in Azure. So that's also a possibility, and it has a lot of advantages. For example, shorter time to upgrade on the go live date, which is very important. So purging and archiving. There are standard cleanup jobs in AX, for example, batch history, AIF log, and a lot of other things. So you need to check these standard cleanup jobs in the different modules of AX. With data management framework, intelligent data management framework, you can export some data, for example, the ones that are older than 2 years or things like that. That could be useful. You can archive your application and do a new start in D365 and only import master data and opening data. That's also a possibility. In that way, you purged a lot of data. So that's something to consider. And I have already talked about this, to replicate your data to the cloud before go live. So I talked about why do we upgrade at all for JJ Food Service. I think we have very good reasons, and sometimes partners are thinking, why would their customers say, okay, we are going for that upgrade? So I think I gave some ideas about it. I talked about our point of view on the upgrade. I showed an overview of the standard process, and I had a look at functional upgrade, technical upgrade, and data upgrade and cleanup from our point of view. So in functional upgrade, I mentioned mainly redesign because of deprecated features, or because of different technology, or because we want to redesign it. I also talked about standardization in the functional upgrade area, where we developed functionality a long time ago when it was not available, but now it is there in AX, in standard AX, and it's much better to use the standard functionality because we don't have that cost of maintaining our custom code. For technical upgrade, I gave some ideas about how we figured out what can be cleaned and removed from our code base. I shared some tools related to that. And I also showed the code upgrade tool that gives you the first code. When you run this code upgrade tool, at the end you still get, for example, we had 60,000 errors in the first run. And it's just the first step. You then need to divide it to models and find the reasons for those errors. So it's a kickstart, but then your developers will have to work on this initial code base that's created by the code upgrade tool. But it's already in Azure DevOps, and you have tasks, and it's a very good kickstart. Still, manual work is needed. Related to data upgrade, I just wanted to highlight two things. One is that purging and archiving helps you a lot because of smaller database has a lot of advantages in cost and performance. And the other thing is that only one collation is supported. You need to know about that and you need to plan that. I showed just a little bit about LCS, and I showed just a little bit of the AX developer environment and the models. So with this, I'm open for questions, and please feel free to write to me on my email address, or you can find me on LinkedIn, and feel free to shoot a message, question, and let me hear your questions about this presentation at the moment also.
Thank you again, Peter. Again, it's obviously it's a lot of ground to cover in a very short space of time. And there are questions, some good questions coming from. So the last question is by Ohose, who says how to upgrade attached documents stored in, where are you gone now? Here we go. So the first question by Ohose is how to move upgraded code from standard model. Oh, there we go. The questions come back. Yep. How to upgrade attached documents stored in local SharePoint server from AX 2012 to. So there's a lot of questions. So let's start from the top, because I think we don't want to start from SharePoint, do we? We want to start. We want to start a bit higher up. So let's start off when we go to his first question, which is how to move the upgraded code from standard model like application suite to new model like GAD core. Before starting the code fixing and resolving the conflicts. That's the first question.
Yes. So as I said, the code upgrade tool puts your code in Azure DevOps, and in Azure DevOps you have options to move code. So first, when it's created, we already attach it to a developer environment, and there we start to use Visual Studio. And okay, so I cannot show it now, but I will try. So here you will see those objects that were upgraded and automatically put to application suite, for example. And here you have the options to move between models. So first you create your own model. If you go to Dynamics, Model Management, you can create your own models. For example, we created JED Core and JED operations and so on. And when they are there, you check them into Azure DevOps also, and then you can move your objects from the standard overlayering model to your new extension model. So it's by Azure DevOps. It can be command line or it can be on the user interface of Visual Studio.
Okay, great stuff. So that was the so they're asking about the modules. You can see the question, can't you, there, Peter? What
Yes.
are the advantages of having 4 different modules? Yes.
Yes. So when you create your models, it's your decision. I shared our way of doing it, but it can be very different from your side. So the advantage is that, so let me start with the disadvantage of having too many models. So if you have too many models, then you have to reference one model from the other. And if you have like 20 models or more, you can have circular references, and this is a disadvantage. But if you only have one model, that is fine, I think. The only reason why we cut our code to 4 models is that we wanted to somehow get similar like how Microsoft did. That's one reason. And the other reason is that these were very easy to identify that they are different. So reporting is obviously very different from the rest. Integration can be easily identified, and with that, originally there was a way to only move models to production environment as a package. Now you have to move all of them, so we don't have that advantage. So it is your decision. I don't say that this is the good solution, but this is one good solution.
Yeah. Again, thanks, Peter. There is a question again regarding branching strategy, as you know, with all the development work. And so one of the questions is, what is the best branching strategy for upgrades?
We
And
only
to be
have
honest,
one. Yes?
okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
We only have one branch at a time. So so this is the original one that was created by the upgrade tool. And then with the newer versions, we moved our code. One more thing is that while we were investigating the upgrade, time was running, and we even developed new code in AX 2012. So we just created new releases when there was a new version, and we moved some new code that was developed in that time. Yes.
Okay, so one final question, and that is to do with, it was to do, oops, just lost it there. So many last minute questions coming through, but we've only got time for one more. Here we go. Here's a very valid question. How do we proceed when we got a ISV solution from a partner, but still model store having 2012 code structure? And now this needs to be handled. So that's for Agendra. He's saying, can we get rid of the layers of the code via the upgrade tool? So he's stuck with an ISV solution, and he needs to upgrade the 2012 code. Do you have any suggestions around that?
Structure.
Rajendra, if you'd like to unmute your microphone to ask that a bit more with more clarity, that would be great. But yes, it seems though you're referencing an ISV solution.
Yes, Ross. Hello, everyone, and hello, Peter.
Hi.
Yeah, the problem is that so we have planned to go for the upgrade, and we just received. In our 2012 solution, we have 2 ISV solutions, and we have received the latest solution from the partners. And how do we plan since we got the latest solution for those ISV solutions? You know, since those 2 solutions will be in the model store.
Yes. Yes. So as the result of the upgrade tool, you will have the ISV code also, but it will be in a separate model. So you can just remove it and replace it with the model that you received from your ISV that is already upgraded. So you will just not need to upgrade those objects.
Okay. In such cases, then we need to complete the rest of the process, and then we need to install the solution, right?
Yes, or even when you did the code upgrade tool, you get the result. That time you can already replace the code that was done by the ISV. You can already replace that.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, if I may step in as well, what also would be an option is to create a separate environment first where you remove the models from your AX 2012 environment. But I'm not sure if you do have dependencies with customizations. In that case, it won't work. If you don't have dependencies on your ISV coding in AX 2012, you can first remove the models in AX 2012 and do a cleaner upgrade to Dynamic 365.
Yes, that's also possible if you don't have references to this ISV solution, which I guess is very rare, but that's an option.
But if we do so, then definitely we will be facing some problem when we are going for the data upgrade, right?
No, because you first have to create a separate environment specific for the code upgrade.
Okay.
And the data upgrade will be separate then.
Okay.
Yeah, so first you upgrade your code, and that time you lose some data when you are only working on your code base. But then you get this code that you upgraded and put it on your original database, so you will not lose those tables forever. It's just while running the code upgrade.
Okay. Great.
Excellent. Thank you again. So if you could, Rajendra, mute your mic, that'd be really, really helpful. Also, I want to thank Peter. I also want to thank Andre Arnaud for also facilitating with that. Yes.